Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. Today's video is all about turtleneck sweaters. Sometimes they're also known as polo neck, mock neck, skivvy, and so forth. We'll discuss all of that, the history, how they should fit, how you can style them, and what to pay attention to when you buy them. First of all, what's the definition of a turtleneck? Basically, it's a sweater with a high roll collar that is turned around and that covers some part or most parts of your neck. A traditional polo neck or turtleneck is always folded over and is very slim fitting in the body. Typically, the turtleneck part itself is made out of a ribbed knit, while the body is generally made out of a solid knit. You need the ribs in the neck because you have to pull it over your head, yet it should sit firm against your neck. A cousin of the turtleneck is a so-called mock neck. It also covers the neck, yet it's not folded over. Personally, I don't like that style very much because it usually is more flimsy around your neck and it doesn't drape as well as when it's folded over. So what about the history of the turtleneck? Basically, you have to go back a long way in men's fashion to find them. They first been worn in the Western Hemisphere in the 15th century. If you wonder why, you know once you put them on that they really keep your neck a lot warmer, which is nice for the colder days of the year. Because of that, it never really lost its popularity, but by the 19th century, it was primarily a garment for the working class or for sailors. Sometimes you could also see them worn by naval officers. That being said, it was not a garment that you would see an aristocratic gentleman wearing. In fact, it was a very utilitarian garment, and it didn't become fashionable until the playwright Noel Coward wore it in the 1920s. He made it so popular that it was subsequently adopted by the preppy style movement because people wanted something that was more casual, and they wore it instead of a shirt and a tie, especially during the colder days of the year. Ever since, turtlenecks have been going in and out of fashion. They were really popular in the 80s, and then demand dropped. I remember I had my first turtleneck sweater about 15 years ago in the early 2000s, and at that point, they weren't really popular. That being said, in recent years, there has been a surge in popularity, especially with elegant men, because it's a garment that helps you casualize the rest of your somewhat formal wardrobe. Obviously, it keeps your neck warm, and it also means you don't need to have a necktie or a bow tie, which makes it an ideal winter travel companion. Now that you know a few historic tidbits, how should a turtleneck sweater fit? Basically, there are two schools of thought. The one is that a turtleneck is a rather slim-fitting garment that is snug and reaches below your waist. Most turtlenecks are quite long, so you can tuck them in without them coming out. In the 80s, you saw turtlenecks that were very floppy, but personally I think it's not a good style because you have it sit very close against your neck, so it's floppy in the body. It just looks weird. That being said, turtlenecks usually come in different weight classes. There's some that are extremely thin and they maybe work in an office environment when it's a true substitute for a shirt. On the other hand, you have thicker sweaters typically made out of wool, which are meant to keep you a lot warmer, and you might be able to wear them with an undershirt. Slim and very thin turtlenecks can be great to layer, but wearing them on their own, they really show every imperfection of your body. Frankly, whether you wear your turtleneck tucked or untucked is entirely up to you. Personally, I like to wear it tucked with dress pants, or if I combine them with a suit, I wear them on top of my pants if it's a more casual combination. Which brings us to the next point. How should you style a turtleneck sweater with your outfits? Personally, I like to wear them directly against my skin or with a thin undershirt. I never wear a polo shirt underneath with any kind of collar, and I also try to avoid any kind of dress shirt with a collar because it just looks weird and you can see the outline from the outside. Sometimes even an undershirt is too much, and I just suggest you take a look at it in the mirror before you go out on the street, because if you have an outline of a V-neck t-shirt underneath a turtleneck, it just looks odd. Turtlenecks are a great way to dress down suits. In this video, I'm wearing a gray turtleneck with a navy suit. It creates a very different look than I would wear the same suit with, let's say, a white shirt and a tie. A turtleneck makes everything look a lot softer, yet you're still well dressed. Some people even combine it with striped suits, which in my opinion is over the top because the striped suit is more formal and it can clash. To go even a step further, I've seen people wearing it with a tuxedo or dinner jackets, and I find that look is rather odd because black tie lives off its formality and it looks much better like that in my opinion. You can also use a turtleneck to dress down a double-breasted jacket, and to learn more about that, please check out this video here. At recent PTOMOs, I've also seen men wear a turtleneck sweater that's rather thin with a larger denim shirt on top, which is then topped by an overcoat or a jacket. Obviously, that's a more flamboyant, fashion-forward look, and I only recommend it to people who really know what they're doing. Personally, it's not a look that I like. Off-white is a really nice color for turtleneck sweaters, especially in the winter, because it contrasts with the darker colors that are otherwise usually incorporated in your outfit. That being said, make sure you get a very thick white or off-white turtleneck, because otherwise you can see your nipples, the hair pokes through, and you can see the outline of your pants, which just looks really, really bad. One of the biggest challenges for turtlenecks is to combine them in a way with your other garments so it looks very well put together. I found that in terms of color, if you follow the concept of contrast and harmony, you always look well dressed. So what does that mean? By harmony, I mean that you take a color that complements maybe your jacket or the one of your pants. For example, here I'm wearing a tan brown turtleneck sweater with a dark brown tweed jacket that has flecks of tan, so it ties it together. In that same outfit, I'm using black corduroys, which also work with the tweed and provide a nice contrast to the sweater, yet overall it looks very harmonious. Because turtlenecks are exclusively reserved for the colder seasons of the year, it makes sense to use a more muted color scheme that creates that harmony with other items. By contrast, I mean the colors have to be noticeably different, because if everything blends in, yet it's not the same, it has this pseudo-monochromatic look that simply does not work. For example, if I wear this gray turtleneck sweater with a houndstooth jacket, it looks like it's the same color almost from a few feet away, yet it's not, and it's very unpleasant to look at. Yet, if you wear it with something contrasting like navy or even a dark charcoal, which is in the same color family, it looks a lot better. What about monochrome outfits in general? As you may know, I'm not the biggest fan of them. If you want to pull them off with a turtleneck, you really have to make sure that the color matches exactly. Otherwise, if it's just slightly off, it doesn't work. Instead, I would suggest you go with something where there is a greater variance, so there is some contrast, but if it's in the same color family, it looks very muted and elegant. Turtlenecks generally tend to look better with shorter haircuts because if the hair covers the turtleneck, it just looks odd. So if you like your longer hairstyle, simply don't wear turtlenecks. If you're into chunkier turtlenecks, you can also pair them maybe with some jeans and boots and wear them outside, let's say with a pea coat. So how should you buy turtlenecks? Ideally, you get something that is machine washable, because sometimes you'll sweat more if you go from a cold environment into a warm department store than you would with a different sweater. Because of that, you want to be able to clean it regularly, and dry cleaners are very costly, so ideally you want to be able to wash it at home in your washing machine. That means you get something in cotton, yet cotton is not very insulating, so merino wool is probably the best material for a sweater because it's not as delicate as cashmere, yet you can wash it on a gentle cycle in your machine at home. Because I sweat more in them, I have to wash turtlenecks more often, and therefore I get pilling more quickly and the sweaters don't last as long. I'm also not someone who wears turtlenecks all the time, and because of that, for me, it doesn't make sense to invest in really high-end cashmere turtleneck sweaters because I would wear them out very quickly. In terms of colors, I think gray and tan are fantastic companions for the winter season, and those would be the first two I invest my money in because generally they work well with other classic colors that are usually worn in the winter. If you want to add more, I think an ivory color is great as long as the material is thick enough so you don't see any outline underneath. You could also play with maybe a burgundy or a dark olive green. Tones of camel, khaki, or sand are also nice, but I would stay clear of black or navy because they're usually too similar to the jackets, and then it just all blends in and creates a monochromatic look that I don't like. Rather than going with a stark white, I encourage you to go with an ivory or off-white because it is softer and blends in better with brown tones, still creating a contrast, but in a way that is more warmer and looks more well put together than a plain solid white. If you're not sure about turtlenecks and where they're right for you, a great place to start is Uniqlo. They provide turtlenecks with a nice slim fit, even for shorter guys or for guys like me. They have a nice color palette, they offer merino wool and cotton, and they really don't break the bank. No, this is not sponsored at all. I've just found that Uniqlo turtlenecks are a great value, so give it a try and let me know what you think. In today's video, I'm wearing a gray turtleneck that has a mottled yarn, which is advantageous because it creates a softer look than if the gray would be uniform. It also makes it easier to combine it with other items, especially gray ones. I use turtleneck to dress down a typical navy blue business suit from Oxford in a navy worsted wool because it's something that a lot of people want to do with turtlenecks and the effect really works. Because there's no neckwear or bow tie, I always add a pocket sweater. In this case, it's one from Fort Belvedere in a light blue silk with small paisley patterns, and you can find it in our shop here, just like the socks, which are shadow striped, charcoal and gray, which pick up the gray tones of the shoes, as well as my sweater, thus tying the entire outfit together. Now as for the shoes, you can see it's a two-tone shoe with regular navy calf leather and gray suede, and I thought it looked really well with this outfit because it picked up those same colors. Normally I like to wear turtlenecks more in combinations with tweed and maybe corduroys because it's a very wintry feel, yet it's elegant and well dressed.